I have no choice because I asked for this job. And you supported me for the mandate. And I want to win more.
Tinubu telling governors to work for his re-election in 2022. This happened during the holidays when the governors paid him a courtesy visit in Lagos. This is the first time he's making it clear that he's contesting the 2027 presidential election. Despite denials in the past that he wasn't thinking about it yet, that he's focused on governance. Even earlier than that, most of his handlers and appointees always campaigned for his 2027 re-election. Even during official visits, they always seized the opportunity to campaign for him.
So before 2027, this phase 1A will finish. Do you want phase 2A to finish? Sokoto people, do you want phase 1A, 1B to finish? Yeah, it's going to start around 2027. You know what to do. You did it before. You know what to do.
And the way they are pushing for his re-election in 2027, they make it seem as if he must have his second term in office, that he's entitled to it. This is Emilokon Part 2. They make it seem as if Nigerians have no say in deciding who becomes their president. Whatever agreement they might have made with Buhari and other APC chieftains in the north to support him in 2027, that's not the business of Nigerians. It is their own cup of tea. Nigerians will decide who will lead them in 2027. Like the saying goes, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Nigerians have eaten Tinubu's pudding and they have all vomited it. That's why they will ditch him in 2027 and choose an empathetic, competent leader who will help them achieve, even if it is only 10% of their potential. No serious people who want to build an enviable nation will choose a leader based on Emilokon, religion, or tribalism. Some Nigerians made the mistake in 2023. Have they learned their lessons, or are they going to fall for the narrative? The narrative is coming up. They are now pushing the narrative to northerners to support Tinubu in 2027 instead of supporting a candidate that might do 2 terms, making power stay in the south for 12 years. Obviously, many northerners will fall for this narrative because most of them are driven by only being close to power, not using that power to turn around their fortunes, the fortunes of northerners, to develop their region. Unfortunately, many northerners are already pushing this. They are telling people it's only 4 years remaining. So why risk another southern candidate who might renege on the promise to do only 1 term? Let us endure only 4 years. We can't risk enduring another 8 years. They are more focused on power shift to the north, not necessarily the development of the country or whether the person that will take over from a southerner is competent enough to leave the country from the depths that APC have plunged Nigeria. This explains why many northerners never criticized Buhari during his 8 years in power. They felt that power was in the north at the time, so no need fighting their own, despite the fact that all of us, whether you're from the south or from the north, all of us were affected by the Buhari's calamitous years. Now, this brings us to the subject matter. Sani, a PDP member who was a senator under APC, is now pushing this narrative hard that northerners have no moral right to not support Tinubu in 2027. There's no morality in politics. Politicians use all sorts of gimmicks, tribalism, religion to gain advantage during elections. And when they get to power and they fail woefully, is Sani trying to say that Nigerians don't have the right to gauge the politician based on his performance before deciding whether to re-elect him or not? The fact that northerners turned a blind eye during Buhari's 8 years or even his first term, they turned a blind eye and re-elected him in 2019, it still doesn't make it right that they have lost that right to gauge another candidate, whether he's from the south or not, or whether it's their brother or not, that they don't have that right to gauge him based on performance before deciding to re-elect him. No, he can't bring in morality here. Politicians don't consider morality when they are pushing for power. Some of them even go as far as eliminating their opponents in order to gain advantage and get to power. Now they are in power, they are failing woefully, and they are trying to basically blackmail Northerners into voting for him again. No one should fall for this cheap narrative. That's why they make it seem as if it is North versus South. Even Southerners are falling for the narrative. They tell you Northerners always do this to a Southern president, but when a Northern president is there, they suddenly turn mute. They even give example like during Goodluck Jonathan's administration. They tell you Northerners pushed him out of power, but people fail to remember that the entire APC worked together, including Southerners, to push Goodluck Jonathan from power. So people shouldn't fall for this narrative. They will tell you, you are a fellow Southerner. Why are you helping Northerners feel as if they own this country? No, don't fall for it. They just want your empathy. Now they remember South, but during elections, they denied and disenfranchised them from voting simply because of Emiloko. They felt they wouldn't vote for their own party.
I'm not Igbo. You are counting as Igbo. I was born Igbo.
Is it because of this place?
Even though you born in Lagos, you are not the origin of Lagos.
I'm indigenous of Lagos, so I'm indigenous of Lagos.
There's nothing concern me.
Are you stopping people from
entering?
I'm telling you, that's what is going on here.
Brother, should I don't speak to you now? Say,
Madam, who don't want you there? Madam,
Igbo now.
okay, show
My
me.
face look like Igbo.
Show me Igbo now. I don't show you
Yomi is okay. Yomi. What's that?
Say I should quote something.
Can you imagine?
No problem now. When you need to know that I'm Yoruba, you go know. That day you go know.
Are you serious?
No problem. The day you need Yoruba, you go find me. Let's go. That day you will find me.
They say we look like Igbo.
Let's go, Joe. It's no problem.
No, that's actually shocking.
It's no problem. It is not.
Like they didn't allow me enter because they say I look like
Don't worry, very soon we'll have a Russian Yoruba. No problem. Let's go.
For a Kota primary school here, we're not allowed to vote. Once you get to the gate, they ask you if you're from Lagos State. Once you're not from Lagos State, East, Tinubu State, Anambra, they'll tell you to go back, go to your place to vote. That's the situation here, Kota primary school. So we are nobody's voting.
So people shouldn't fall for this narrative. Everyone must focus on the subject matter. The subject matter is that Nigerians must unite against the common enemy. One major thing people always miss when they spread all this narrative is the fact that how about if Tinubu never brought all this hardship on Nigerians? Would Northerners be opposing him as hard as they are doing today? Absolutely not. They would have continued supporting him. After all, it's just 8 years in the south. It will come back to the north and they will start wherever they stopped after Buhari's administration. But he brought so much hardship to this country to the extent that even his party members are resigning from the party, saying that this is not what we wanted. We are no longer a progressive party. That's the fact. And they are trying to spin it that he's a courageous person, that it's only a courageous person that can do what he's doing. It is a blatant lie. There are many ways to kill a rat. There are many ways to lift a country out of poverty. And his way is not the way to do it. You can't be punishing Nigerians with hardship, with serious taxes, with high cost of petrol, a devalued naira, a completely diminished purchasing power, and you're trying to tell Nigerians that you're a courageous person. What an insult.
He's the only one who will finish it. Because if all that had the courage, 48 years, they would have attempted it. But no one did. A man of courage, a divine president.
You see, the worst part is the disdain, the contempt, and the arrogance with which they treat Nigerians. Let's even assume that his failed policies are the only way to save Nigeria. It is not, by the way, but it's just to make an analogy. Why didn't he wait till his second term? Yes, causing massive suffering to Nigerians. Didn't he ever think that it must have political consequences? No one likes to suffer, especially when it is completely unnecessary, especially when it can be done other ways to reduce the suffering. But he's here bragging and gloating. He's a courageous person. No one else did it the past 100 years Nigeria has existed. He's the only one that can do it. All the blah blah blah. So this is the problem here. Now, let's end with what Sheikh Sani said in the interview with some newspapers. It can be called a cheap blackmail of Northerners. He tried to ambush them in a corner by telling them that, hey, you did it for Buhari, now you don't want to do it for another person because it's a Southerner. Aren't you hypocrites? He said, quote, let us tell ourselves the home truth. When our own was in power for 96 months, what did we do? For all the failures, people kept quiet. They refused to hold him to account. They refused to criticize him. They refused to say we voted for you and you failed. For 8 years, he couldn't construct any major road to northern Nigeria. He spent 8 years, yet he couldn't activate the Mambila power plant. He spent 8 years, he couldn't revive or dredge the river Niger. He spent 8 years, he couldn't dualize the Abuja-Kaduna-Kanu express route. He spent 8 years, he couldn't dualize the Kanu, Kaduna and Lagos express route. He spent billions of naira in the name of agriculture, for which there is nothing to show. He appointed Northerners into offices and they have not served the interests of the North. So, if you cannot hold your son to account, if you kept quiet, if you remained silent, if you folded your arms during Buhari's administration, what conscience do you have now to threaten someone else with re-election? Unquote.